high school.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about high school because that's a really, really,
Yeah.
really weird place. For a lot of people, that place is very confusing.
Yeah,
How did you
very
find
confusing. I found high school like just crazy. Like from year seven, I'm like it was so different
it? Yeah,
to primary school.
yeah.
Like, it was felt like just more real. It was like more. You had to fit in. You had to be this guy. You had to be that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that especially like in year 8, 9, I think,
Yeah.
especially boys, that is such a weird year.
Mm-hmm.
You're going through puberty,
Puberty.
shit's changing, you don't know what the fuck is going on.
Body's changing.
Um,
You get interest in girls.
Yeah, that. The 12s are looking more cooler and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So you're trying to, be as cool as they are and do whatever they're doing. So
Yeah.
drinking and smoking and all that gets,
Yeah.
it starts becoming more available and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How were you when you got to that age when you were changing a lot
Yeah.
and just fitting in became, a really important part?
Yeah.
How were you then mentally, and
Yeah.
where were you, and who were you hanging out with?
Yeah.
That's a lot of questions, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, around that age, I started to, for the first time in my life, I started to go through things like anxiety,
Yeah. Okay.
and I went through a bit of depression as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know why I was feeling like that because I never felt like that in my life. I was always like a happy kid, you know.
Yeah. So before year 9 and year 10, when you were starting feeling anxious,
Yeah.
how were you before that? From year 7.
Yeah. To about year 9, I was like the loudest kid there was, you know. I'd always
Yeah.
be joking around. I'd be happy. You never see me angry, sad, nothing, you know.
Yeah.
I was like a big, happy, like just smiley kid, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that you're out of high school, what do you think was the cause of you then becoming anxious at that age?
I think the cause of that was me trying to fit in with other people and not being myself, trying to be like others, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you trying to be? Were you trying to be like were you trying to fit in a specific group, or
Yeah.
was it? Because I don't, for me, I think that was the same case. I was like, it was a weird year, man.
Yeah.
It's very weird to like figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
So how was that going through that,
Yeah.
anxiety and trying to fit in? How was that for you? And when did that kind of change? And when did you kind of find yourself?
Yeah. Well, for me, I feel like wanting, like, first of all, like, it was other people's opinions. Like, I think too much of that.
Yeah.
Like, when other people's opinions don't matter, you can't take someone's opinion to the bank and get paid,
Yeah. I
So,
like that.
Yeah, opinions were, like, a big thing to me of, like, what's this person think of me,
Yeah.
That, and also hanging out with, like, a group of people that were nothing like me, like, people that were, like, partying and doing drugs, and, that's not, like,
Yeah.
that wasn't who I was. And I was
Yeah,
hanging out with
yeah.
those guys.
Yeah.
So
Were you not into like all that?
Nah, I wasn't into
Scene?
all that. Nah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because I remember people that I used to, because I went to CBC,
Yeah.
and I knew a lot of people that went to Hawthorne, and they were always talked about like how there was always parties and all this and that, and I was like,
Yeah.
man, that school just sounds completely.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm glad I went to that school instead. But how did you avoid that? How did you not get into all that crap?
Well, like, first of all, I feel like it's the way mom brought me up. Like,
Yeah, okay.
I wasn't one to go out and, like, take drugs and, like, that's
Yeah.
not me,
Yeah. What do you think? What was it that she did that? Because for me, like I was saying before, we were so similar. But what happened with me is that kind of made me, have scapegoats and
Yeah.
having this project now is because how I felt was anytime I was doing something that I know my mom wouldn't like, I just felt guilty.
Yeah.
So I just didn't do it in general.
the same
That
as
was
me.
it was like a psychological trick that she did just by showing so much love.
Yeah.
Like she never was like aggressive or anything. She just like, and I think also having to witness what she went through, because I went to Egypt for a couple of years as well. So seeing that as well and seeing how hard
Yeah.
worker she was,
Yeah.
I think that kind of made me realize, man, like I don't want to let you down.
Yeah. Exactly. I feel the same.
Yeah. So was that what was it was it the same you reckon for you?
That was the same as me. I was like, mom worked so hard to get us to this
Yeah.
country, to give us another opportunity in life.
Yeah.
Why would I throw that away by going out, taking drugs, getting in trouble, throwing away my life,
Yeah.
when I could do something, like
Yeah.
positive and give back to my mom,
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what I like because you know that because you were lucky enough to be, even though you came here when you were 4 years old, you were
still-
lucky enough to kind of witness a few things that you're like, man, I don't know how she got us here. You probably know now, but
Yeah.
to get us here, that's a complete whole, side of the world.
Yeah.
But then you realize, man, like that is, I'm very lucky for that. But unfortunately, so many people, like my younger siblings, who were born here, and they don't know that at all.
Not like that, yeah.
So that's one thing that you're very lucky for, and I am very lucky for.
Yeah.
So what else do you reckon she did and that made you kind of avoid that? Was it just because you guys were talking a lot, you guys were
Yeah.
connected a lot?
Yeah, mom would talk to like she'd talk to me just for hours. Like when she's like started to see I was going off the rails a bit or like starting to go down like a not so good path. She just pull me to the side, just be like, "Quit," you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Like you're a good kid, you're better than this. You shouldn't be doing this with your life, you know.
Yeah.
Just think about, you know,
yeah, yeah.
think about
yeah.
how much you like we've gone through just to get here. And
Yeah.
then she'd always remind me of back home, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
because the
yeah,
kids
yeah.
back in Africa are not so lucky. They don't have an education, they can't work, they
Yeah.
can't, you know.
That's what I like so much, and I think even me talking to my mum during this whole pandemic, and I just but you don't exactly know how lucky you
are.
know.
Yeah.
And even to have stories where like you were lost once upon a time, and then you were lucky enough to be found. Same as as me when I was lost. But that's just like a small part of like luck. But man, I'm glad that you have that mentality, because a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
So with staying out of trouble, how was it after high school? Did it get harder? Was it easier? Like with staying out of trouble?
Well, after high school, it was. I think my first year out of high school was like a bit hard to stay out of trouble
Yeah,
because I still sort of had those friends from high school around,
yeah,
and like they'd be like, "Hey, come out to this party. This is that." And at that time, like I sort of started to get into like the partying scene, the clubbing, and you
Yeah.
know,